This is a question we borrowed from Oprah Winfrey. This is how she used to end all of her interviews. She would ask, "What do you know for sure?"
I'd have to go with our theme for this month, which is mystery. You never know what's going to happen. You never know what little twists and so forth happen. When I had finished my training as an occupational as an art major, and discovered that was great, but I wasn't a great artist. I did not work with 2 dimensions well. 3 dimensions were my thing, sculpture and that sort of stuff. Working with Marcy on those dolls was great. But what was I going to do? And I got a summer job in northern Wisconsin at a camp for rather well-to-do children. And I was an art teacher there. And at the end of the summer, the director of the whole program said, "Okay, Anita, what are you going to do when come fall now? You got your degree and everything?" And I said, "I don't know. I don't want to go home and sit on my parents' doorstep with my certificate in my hand and say, well, here I am." And the only things that were open to us there at that time were working for Goodyear Rubber designing linoleum. Doesn't that sound exciting? Or working for Hallmark cards and designing cards and stuff. 2-dimensional stuff. So I sent a layout of some of the things I had done to Hallmark. And they said, "Well, you have great talent, but we don't do anything in 3 dimensions here, and we hope that you'll find a use for that." And I thought, oh, that's great. It's back in my lap again. And then I thought, okay, what uses 3 dimensions? Well, I work in clay, I work in all sorts of different things. And so I thought, okay, American Handicrafts carries all of these wonderful materials. So I sent my resume and so forth out with them. They said, "You're just the person we're looking for. We want to do a catalog, and we want you to do samples of things using our various modalities, and then we'll photograph them and put them in this new catalog. And then we want to ship you around the country to our stores," because they had big stores in San Francisco and Dallas, Texas, and New York, and we want to fly you there, and you'll do weekends there doing demonstrations.
Wow.
I thought, wow, well, that's perfect. But right now it's 1948, and we're in a recession, and we have not been able, we've been told we cannot hire anybody new until somebody quits or we fire them or something. But keep us in mind. We're waiting for you. So I waited, and it was the end of the summer, and didn't hear anything. And I talked to the art director there, and she said, "Well, what would you really like to do?" And I said, "Well, I'd like to work with materials, arts, and crafts, and work with a variety of people." And she said, "Well, what about occupational therapy?" And I said, "What's that? Never heard of it. Nobody ever mentioned it to me. No guidance counselors or anything like that. Be sure to talk to guidance counselors." Anyway, so she said, "Well, you work with people in hospitals or nursing homes or things like that, and you work with a variety of materials depending upon what's happened to them, and you try to get them better so that they can go back to function as a whole human being." And she said, "And you're lucky because there are 2 schools here. There's one in Madison, which is the state capital, and she said you have people there who are government workers and so forth. They're sort of middle income sort of thing. There are some wealthy people too, but in Milwaukee there's this school called the Milwaukee Downer College, and it's all women, and it's up on the east side, which is the Gold Coast, and there are wealthy families up there, and you might be able to get a job as a mother's helper." Okay. She said, "Take the bus in this weekend and visit one of them." And I thought, well, the chance of finding a mother's helper thing in Madison was not that good, but this looked promising. So I took a bus, went in, talked to the school, found out I'd have 1.5 years of academic work and another year of clinical training. But then I could be an occupational therapist, and I would have a guaranteed job. And so gave it a lot of thought and finally decided, okay, went back to Iowa State, got a compilation of all my records and so forth, sent them to Milwaukee Downer. I didn't need boys around because I already had the boy thing, and it hadn't worked. I wasn't into girls as such, but I could tolerate them, so I could go to the girls' school and fit in. And so transcripts there, paid my dues and so forth. Went back home, packed up my stuff, and moved up there and found a family to live with and so forth. 2 weeks later, my mother says, "You have a letter here from East Orange, New Jersey, American Handicrafts." And they said, "We have an opening. We would like to hire you." The road not taken. Think how different my life would have been. Flying around the country. Could have met a rich millionaire. Travel the world.
So is that your biggest regret?
No, really, because what happened was good. But, you never know what's going to happen, what choices you have to make. And I made a choice and stuck with it. I could have said, okay, I'll give it up. I cancel the application. I can't get my money back, but I'm going to go with East Orange. But I didn't. That's it. So I know for sure that I made the best decision that I could at the time. And what else do I know for sure? That people are essentially good. There are some bad apples here and there. And you have to wrap your mind around it and try to think positively, no matter what idiotic things they say and do. And try to surround yourself with people who have the vibrancy and so forth that you feel you need in your life. And, were any of you at that?
No.
No. Yes.
That was my 91st birthday party down in the kitchen.
Wow.
I did your sound, I think.
And the year before that, May Lawrence and I had our 180th birthday party. And that was fun, too. But, I had a good heel from my break, and May had a bad heel from hers, so she's coming in with a walker and has had to move out of her house and some things like that. So you never know what's going to happen. And you don't know what's going to happen because one of the things that I've been working with is being concerned about 5G. Anybody know about 5G?
Sure. It's the network. Yeah. The next
Your cell phone is probably 4G.
Right.
And they want to put 5G in. They call it small cell. The only thing is they promote the story that the tall towers will not broadcast it properly, that it has to be lower down. So they want to take all of the upright electric light posts, any kind of thing, every 500 to 1,500 feet. In business areas, in residential areas, they want to blanket the earth with 5G. They want to shoot satellites up and have it coming down on us. They meaning Verizon, Comcast, the big companies, are going on data that they had from 1996 that says that it's safe, that there are no health problems with it. Their results are way out of date. They're going with thermographic results. They have no tests that they are releasing that show how the penetration goes in and how it affects the mind and the heart. Those are the two parts of the body that it hits. And that people are being damaged by this, and they don't want to hear that. They block it out. There is a bill that has gone through the Congress now that says that there are no ways that any state, municipality, whatever, can refuse to have these things in their municipality. Marin tried to do that, and they've hit blockages all along the way. This law goes into effect this coming January 24th. And if it isn't gotten blocked, there are some signs that it is being blocked now. But there are enough of us that are complaining and saying, enough is enough, you can't do this to people. There are health benefits. There are opposite of benefits.
Health risks.
Health risks. And because I was part of the group that was protesting putting the towers up on the top of Friar Tuck's in Nevada City, I met a fellow who turned out to be a retired physician, a physician of Oriental medicine. He has an OMD after his name. And he had been working with blood and finding out what it does to blood. And we kept up a conversation over the year. And he said, come on out, I'll take your blood test and we'll check you out. So he did, last October 20th, a little over a month ago. And took my blood test and found out that I am electromagnetic sensitive. And what it does, normally your blood floats around as little round corpuscles in liquid and so forth. But if you are electromagnetic sensitivity, it changes the polarity on your corpuscles. And they stack up like they were magnets, like they were round little magnets. And they make a chain like so. And they completely change your blood pattern. This is what normal ones look like. This is what happens with electromagnetic. And that's my blood.
Wow.
And as such, it explains why all of a sudden I started being diagnosed with high blood pressure, which I've never had in my life. And cold hands and cold feet, because you can imagine these things trying to get through capillaries and venules. And so, as of October 20th, my lifespan has been challenged. Because this can lead to the autoimmune diseases that you're hearing about all people dealing with. This is what is going on with autoimmune diseases, including cancer. And so you live with that. And every day, in every way.
Can I ask you a question about that?
Yeah.
Are you afraid of dying?
No, I already did.
You did? You had a near-death experience?
I did. When I was 39, I had asthma very badly. And I went into the hospital, and I had been keeping myself kind of clear with these inhalers. And my husband came back from a trip, and he said, "You look blue." I said, "I'm going to take you over to the emergency room," which he did. And they put me on an IPPB machine, which is intermittent positive pressure breathing machine, which uses a little bit of medicine, and you breathe it in, and it helps to clear your lungs. What they didn't do was take a check to see what my level was at the time, and what it did was it put me into overdose, and I went into tachycardia, my heart rapid beat, and I called for the nurse, and they gave me a shot of epinephrine to slow my heart down and slow me down and kind of knock me out. And that was on a Friday night. On Saturday afternoon, I was in the ICU, and all of a sudden my heart stopped. And of course, since I was already hooked up to everything, they caught it in time and put the paddles on and brought me back. That was on a Saturday. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday afternoon, I come to. I'm in a refrigerated oxygen tent with a little peek hole up here, and both arms are strapped down, and I've got IVs going in. And they kept me at a temperature so that there were actually frost crystals on the pillow. And I woke up, and all of a sudden the lid opens up, and the nurse says, "Would you like to talk to your mother?" And I said, "Oh, Sure, yeah. And I thought, my mother's back in Iowa. I'm in Michigan. Wait a minute, what's going on here? Mom says, hey, would you like to talk to your dad? Yeah. Dad appears there. And 15 minutes, half an hour later, they take the tent down, and then I see this room that's all full of stuff to keep me alive. And that was Tuesday. Friday afternoon, I walked out of the hospital. And my mother said, be sure to ask that doctor, be sure to thank that nice doctor who saved your life. And I said, oh, I will, Mom. So I'm walking up and down the corridors on Friday because I know I have to go back to these 4 little kids who are expecting me to be Mom. And I've been pretty much immobile. And I see my doctor coming down the thing. And I said, oh, by the way, my mother wanted me to thank you for saving my life. And he said, who are you? And I told him my name, and he said, I thought sure you were going out of here feet first.
Oh.
So, no, I don't worry about death. It's very peaceful. Unless you get slammed with a car. Knocks your brains out or something. And there's a relative of my family who was going out on a date with her new boyfriend, and she was driving, doing everything right, and a car came through, slammed on the side. Body, good shape. Brain, they still have her on life support. Her parents can't give her up.
How long ago was that?
About 2 months now. No change, no major parts of the brain completely wiped out. She would be a vegetable. And my granddaughter, who is her cousin, says they can't give her up. And here I work in a hospital. She manages the emergency room down in Lancaster. She says they won't listen to me. They won't. They say, oh, but just think of these people who've been under for years and years and all of a sudden come back. And she said, it's not going to happen to Nikki. So you never know. You never know. I could trip on the stairs here.
Well, hopefully not.
But I walked down very carefully.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you, Anita. It's been
That's
wonderful.
more than you
Yeah.
really wanted.
No. That's great. Yeah, thank you very much. This has been great. This is our first episode of UUCM Radio, and stay tuned for more episodes. Take care.